Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Self-Made. Today we are going to talk about how to tackle RC in UPSC CSAT paper, right? UPSC CSAT. And this is obviously for UPSC CSAT 2025 because of CSAT a lot of people struggle to clear the prelims itself, and that is the reason why I am here to talk about RC, especially RC, because RC is something which a lot of people find very difficult to solve. You see, in your CSAT paper, you will have 27 questions from RC, right? Means reading comprehension, you will have 27 questions. In 27 questions, you will have 18 passages, 9 means 2 sections. The 9 passages will carry single question, means one question each, right? Right? But the other 9 passages will carry 2 questions each, and this way 18 questions here and 9 questions from here will become 27 questions in total. So you will have 27 questions, 18 passages, right? So 9 questions will have 2 questions each, and 9 questions will have 9 passages will have single questions each, right? If you categorize the whole CSAT paper, means the RC section, it has broadly 6 type of questions. It asks actually you 6 type of questions to answer. The first is inference based, means there will be a passage, and after reading the passage you will have to figure out the inference made in 4 options, means option A, B, C, D, and you will have to choose one of the 4 options, which one is the the most probable, the right answer. Right. The second is assumption based. Assumption based means you will have a passage, and then there are four statements, means 4 options, and these 4 assumptions are in the form of assumptions. These 4 options are in the form of assumptions, and you will have to figure out which assumption is in line with the passage that is given in the form of a question, right? So actually here you will have to figure out which one option is actually a extension of the passage given in the question format, right? The next is the third option is the third type of question is you will see is central idea, means the crux, means the summary. So you will have a passage, and the questions will ask you to figure out the crux, means the central idea of the passage, means what this passage is talking about exactly. That you will have to figure out in the form of a 4 options, right? Then emphatically conveyed message, right? Emphatically conveyed message means again which one is the central idea. Actually these 2 questions are of the same type, only the words are changed, but these 2 questions are of the same type, right? Then again the central idea, then again this question is of the same type, only the name changes, the word changes, the phrase changes, right? The way of asking the question changes, but the question remains same. The central idea, oh sorry, I actually repeated the same point. The central idea or the emphatically conveyed message are the same thing. Then the next comes most logical, rational and practical suggestion implied by the passage. Again this is, you can say, is the form of inference only. So basically you have 3 type of questions: inference based, assumption based and the central idea. See, the central idea is very easy to answer because it's there in the passage. You have to figure out what is there in the passage, and out of the 4 options you'll have to figure out which one is very close to the closest to the passage, right? So that becomes the central idea, means the option that covers everything about the passage is your central idea. But the inference based and assumption based are a little trickier. Why? Because in the inference based, I divide the whole passage in 2 formats, in 2 types only, because but here I for your convenience to make you understand easily, I have divided into 3 parts. So inference, assumption and central idea. Central idea questions are the easiest, but the assumption and the inference based, these 2 questions actually they are the same but names are different. So what you have to do here is that suppose there is a passage and there are 4 inferences or 4 assumptions, right? Yeah, we have inferences and here we have assumptions. Now you see, after reading this passage you will have to figure out which one. Suppose this is A, B, C, D, we have 4 options, right? So you have to figure out which one out of these 4 is the most correct answer. So while figuring out these 4 options, the options in this type of questions are such in put in such a way that suppose the B is the right answer according to UPSC. B is the right answer, but if you read it little less carefully, you will find out D is also equally appealing, because this one is also seems quite correct according to our common sense. But the problem is you do not have to apply your common sense here in the case of assumption. In fact, any of the RC passage while solving, you do not have to apply your own common sense. You just have to figure out what is there in the passage. If it is written in the passage, then that means that becomes the answer. If it is not there in the passage, that means however strongly that statement sounds to you correct, you do not have to mark that question. You do not have to mark that option. Suppose D seems very practical, very everything, it suits your idea of knowledge or anything, but it has not been extracted from the passage, right? So D will not be the answer, B will be the answer, because B is also correct, but and also this has been extracted from the passage. That's why B will be answer and D will not be answer. So here I have taken few questions. I'll go through the questions one by one and I'll show you how to deal with such type of questions, right? So the first question says, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, 1/3 of the food producer of for human consumption is lost or wasted globally. So it's talking about Food and Agriculture Organization and food wastage, right? Food is lost or wasted throughout the supply chain from initial agricultural production to final household consumptions. So it is wastage of food, right? The increasing wastage also results in land degradation. So it's talk about land degradation by about 45%, mainly due to deforestation. It also talks about deforestation, unsustainable agriculture practices, practices it's talking about, and excessive groundwater extraction. So it's basically it is talking about the ill effects of the practices that we carry out in the form to for agriculture, right? So agriculture for or food production, whatever practices we carry out is against nature, right? The energy spent over wasted food results in about 3.5 billion tons of CO2 production every year. So the energy that we spent in food production results in 3.5 billion tons of CO2. Decay also leads to harmful emission, means food decay also leads to harmful emission gases in the atmosphere. Addressing the loss and wastage of food in all forms is critical to complete the cycle of food sufficiency and food sustainability. So food sufficiency and food sustainability are these two main themes, I think, under the passage. Let's go to the first question. First of all, you have to read the passage once, because these passages are not very long, they are very short passages. Just go through once and go to the question, right? So which of the following statements best reflect the most logical and rational inference that can be made from the passage? Now see, most logical and rational inference that can be made from the passage. You do not have to get distracted by these words. You just have to figure out what is the main idea, right? What is the inference, what the passage is going to talk about, and what exactly this passage is not talking about. That is also very important to rule out the wrong options, right? So we will go to the options. The first option says, the current method of food distribution are solely responsible for the loss and wastage of food. You see, whenever you see a word like solely, absolutely, only, you have to be very careful, because in this passage it is nowhere it has talked about that only the food distribution process is responsible. Alexa, stop. Right? So nowhere in the passage it has been talked about that only the food distribution system is responsible for the wastage of food, right? So this option does not seem good because of this word only, solely, right? Then land productivity is adversely affected by the prevailing trend of food loss and wastage. Now this is the thing that has been talked about very emphatically. So second option is correct. Now, reduction in the loss and wastage of food results in lesser carbon footprint. Obviously, reduction in loss and wastage of food results in lesser carbon footprint. Now, this is absolutely talking about it has been talked about in the passage, because 3.5 billion tons of CO2 is being emitted every year because of food production. So, if we reduce the loss and wastage, obviously the carbon footprint will get reduced, right? So option 3 also is correct. Option 1 is wrong. So if you figure out if you cut out option 1, so you will have only 2 and 3. But let's go to the option 4 and see what it says. Post harvest technologies to prevent or reduce the loss and wastage for not. You see, here again, this post harvest technology has not been talked about in the passage in anywhere, right? So that's why this option will not be in the right choice. This option will not be our right choice. So option 2 and 3 is going to be the answer. So let's go to the next question and see. See, based on the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. The food distribution mechanism needs to be reimagined and made effective to reduce the loss and wastage of food. If you go to the passage here, the food is lost or wasted throughout the supply chain and initial agriculture production to the final household consumption. So, what it has been talked about, assumptions has been made, means based on the data provided in the passage itself, certain assumption have been made. So these assumptions must come from the data from the passage itself, right? These assumptions must not come from your idea, right? You do not have to, you have to keep your ideas, your thoughts under check. You do not have to color the passage, the main theme of the passage with your idea. You do not have to induce your ideas into the passage, right? So you have to keep a separate, you have to keep a boundary between your ideas, your thoughts, your knowledge, and what is written in the passage, right? So this thing, this option, first option, is definitely coming from the passage itself, because it talks about the food distribution system, and that is the reason why food is being wasted in a huge amount, right? So the second option says ensuring the reduction of wastage and loss of food is a social and moral responsibility of all citizens. See, this option, I believe, has not been talked about in the passage, but since assumptions have been made, right, and it says that a lot of food is being produced and wasted here and there, so this seems very tricky, and I have been through the options given by different coaching institutes. Some say this is correct, some say this is not correct, but I believe that this is also a correct option, because what happens is, this is an assumption, means based on the data in the passage itself. Passage says that food is being wasted. If we reduce the carbon footprint, the way food is being produced, our carbon footprint will come down, right? Supply chain, right? The way we deforestation, water extraction, all these things are being talked about. Groundwater extraction, right? All these things are being talked about. So basically this means that ensuring the reduction of wastage and loss of food is a social and moral responsibility of all citizens, which seems quite true, right? So if I have to mark this answer, I will go with both, means A and 2 both. But some coaching institute says that option 2 is right, some say option 2 is wrong. So let's see what UPSC has to say about this, but I think both of them should be the right answer.